All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're back. We're here at the Content Room at 95 India Street with Mitchell Powers, or Powers Promotion, who helps us out with our podcast. I'm Bob Turner. We're here with Macaleb Reinhard today. Macaleb's a 22-year-old guy. I met Macaleb a while back at BNI, so we'll tell you a little bit more about him in a second. This is the Summit Podcast. We're in episode, I don't know, we're getting about 26, 25, 6 or something like that. We set out a little over a year ago to try to do one every week and failed miserably, but we did get 19 done in the first year. So I'm going to call that a win. So we're having a great time today. We got shooting the breeze with the Macaleb here a little bit. Figure we turn the camera on and see what's going on. He wants to talk a little bit about his journey, what it's like to be 22, and not really know what you're doing or where you're going. So we're going to talk. I said to him one time, I said, I'm you, you're me. So we get along great. So it's kind of fun to have somebody here that's a little bit younger, a little on the younger side, and kind of hear what's going on, what it's like to kind of get out of school today and get into college and get through college and sports and all that kind of stuff. And he's got some things he wants to talk about with regard to how he's showing up for his genre, I guess, generation.
Yeah.
What are you guys, generation like Z or something?
Yeah.
So anyway, Macaleb Reinhard, where are you from?
I'm from Hiram, Maine.
Hiram, Maine. I was going to say...
well, I guess born in Hiram from Cornish.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming in. You know Mitchell and I from BNI. We all kind of met each other, and so I feel like we've known each other for a long time, but thanks for coming in and taking the time. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what's up.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for having me. So I'm Macaleb. I'm 22. This is my first time doing a podcast, so it's definitely interesting for sure.
Don't mess up.
I'll try my best. So right now, I'm just kind of at a point in my life where I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm completely lost. I kind of came to Bob in January, and I was like, hey, man, I saw on Facebook you're doing this mentor thing, and all these successful people I've spoken to are telling me, get a mentor.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, sure. So I called Bob, and I was just kind of talking with him and just seeing what I can do to further my life.
Now you really messed up.
Yeah. I'm in school still currently. I'm studying entrepreneurship and small business. I'm still trying to figure out my passions and what I want for a career. I've always had a drive to be super successful, wanting to be able to earn high money, but also help other people around me. And I'm just kind of at a point where it's like I'm working a job I'm not necessarily happy with or I'm in love with. Just kind of feeling stuck, and I'm like, you know what? Let's get this on a roll. I want to talk with someone and figure out what I can do to further my life. So
it's cool. And you and I have had it's been a couple of months now. We've been kind of chatting, and we've had a lot of good talks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And not just shooting the shit either. Like some real taking some direction.
Some real talks for sure.
Yeah, tackling some things. And one of the things that we've talked about a lot is your folks have a business.
Yep.
And, a lot of times when there's a family business, you might be the heir apparent, so to speak. But you guys have had some real conversations about, is this even something that you'd want to do? No pressure there from them, exactly. Of course, which is great. But I know you've worked and it's a pest control business. So, maybe that fills your cup. Maybe it doesn't. Yeah. It might be, might work for now. Maybe not long term. But talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So, like you said, I work in a pest control business with my parents. When I came out of college, well, I guess when COVID happened, I was working full time just because I was online. So I had to get a job. And my parents have this pest control business, and they offered me a spot. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, I'm in business for school. I'd like to figure out how I can grow this company. And it's been a really good opportunity, and I really appreciate what I'm doing with my parents. And I'm learning a lot about business and just a lot about how to grow a business and network. And it's just been one of those things where it's like, pest control isn't my passion. It's not what I love to do. And I've told my parents this, I don't see myself doing it in the future, but I'm taking this business as an opportunity for me right now to learn about how to grow a business, how to network, how to learn about ethics within your business, and how I can apply those skills to maybe something in my future that I really am passionate about.
Yeah. And you that's cool. One of the things that you've talked to me about is, maybe, owning a duplex or starting out like that,
for sure,
and maybe, so you see yourself maybe getting into the investment real estate game?
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, that's been quite a hot button for me in my life, just because growing up as a kid, I've always been at work constantly, just trying to be able to help myself and help my parents. But real estate's been something that I've been seeing on like TikToks and all this stuff. It's the way to be able to create a path of financial freedom. And it's something that, I've always wanted to do. And I talk with my best friend. He's currently building a duplex. And it's just a way to be able to have an income that's covering your mortgage.
Yeah.
So you can save more money and continue that snowball effect into other places.
Well, and if you're starting young, you're getting a jump on a lot of us, right? And people that didn't come to that investment game until later in life, or not even at all. So the fact that you're focusing in on that early is a good thing. And it may not be that ultimately, but you're kind of finding your way through that stuff and looking at all the options. That's what's probably impressed me most about you is
thank you.
The way that you're thinking and you're looking forward and you're trying to figure stuff out. You and I joke about it. We're not too dissimilar, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Other than the fact that I wasn't good enough at sports to play in college. But yeah, I was the same way. I wanted to work. I didn't like school. And kudos to you. You're finishing it up. I didn't. I went part-time, then I went back and I tried it, and it was just something I thought I just had to get done. I wish I could have, because it would have opened some doors for me. And I'm glad that you're doing it, because there'll be some doors that are open for you that maybe weren't open for me. So my route has been, work twice as hard as everybody else, be twice as hungry, try to be smarter than everybody else, and beat everybody to the punch, and
stay consistent.
And it hasn't been fun at times,
for sure.
I didn't like this job, or I didn't like this guy I was working for. And I kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit instilled in me as a young guy, like mowing lawns and weed whacking. I told you that story. And so once you've kind of done that and you've gone out and made a few bucks on your own, I know you've done it in the winter with shoveling or whatever. And you start to think, well, if I just did a little more of that, then I wouldn't have to go jing, jing with the paint with the time card, right?
Exactly.
And I've done both. I've punched a clock. I've managed 20, 30 people in a mill workshop. I've worked, we got bought by a lumber company, so I kind of got exposed to a larger corporate stuff like that, and then had my own business. So a couple of 3 different times, different things, and things that I might look at as failures that really weren't. My mother jokes around with me that was my college education, so there's been some bumps in the road for me that, you don't just get a pass on that because you went to school and got a degree. They're still there, and you kind of just figure your way through it. So you getting started on that mission at a young age is pretty cool. And like I said, that's one of the things that's impressed me most about you. And I don't feel like I'm talking to a 22-year-old when I'm talking with you. Now, let's back up a bit. You were playing soccer for USM.
Yep.
You got hurt.
Yeah. So I played soccer for Thomas College originally when I was a freshman.
Okay.
I broke my collarbone halfway through the season. That took me out. My sophomore year, I transferred to USM, played soccer for them as well. I played about 3/4 of the season, and I got a really severe concussion when I was playing down Rhode Island. Took a really hard hit to the head.
Yeah.
And at first, they thought I was okay. And then after about 10 minutes, my vision kind of went in my right eye. I was throwing up for 4 hours straight on the way home on the bus.
Yeah.
And since that incident there, I really struggled mentally, just through COVID, especially just because we were online in school. I couldn't focus. I dropped out of classes. I fell behind. I wasn't myself, really. I mean, you ask my family and friends, I wasn't the same person after that. And I'm still finding my way back. And to be honest, I kind of appreciate that. I am grateful that happened, actually, just because it kind of proved to myself that I'm not going to give up. And I keep working, because I didn't even want to finish school. I mean, I'm behind in school, but I'm finishing up this year, and this is something I didn't want to do.
Right.
I mean, school for me, I've kind of realized that college, unless you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or something very specific, you don't really need education. You don't need to go to school for business to have a business. Like, I mean, you're an example. I mean, your college education was learning through experience and life experience. And to me, that's more important. But the reason why I'm finishing school is to prove to myself that I can do it. That's why I'm doing it, just to prove to myself that I'm capable and I can follow through with something. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
Well, good for you. I mean, on the business side, I mean, you mentioned that. Like, I don't have an MBA or a business degree, but I paid attention. And I when I had a chance to participate in some things on a higher level, I took it. And all you really need sometimes is 1 or 2 people to take a shot on you. To say, hey, this kid's working on his chops over here. Let's put him in a position to give him a shot. You know. And I got a few of those chances because I was making effort. I had a job, but I also did another job. You know, like I joke that I had 2 jobs for 20 plus years, and I missed a lot of things, and probably had to work a lot harder than some people, but that's okay. I was fine with that. I was like, this is what I want to do. Don't put me in that classroom.
Well, exactly.
And it wasn't that I wasn't smart enough. It just didn't. I'm like, this blows.
Yeah.
You know, and from a maturity standpoint, I probably just wasn't there where I was like, I just don't want to do this. You know, can't make me do it.
Yeah, but I don't blame you. That's the thing too, is like a lot of times when you go to school and you sit down in the classroom, the professor speaking to you is teaching you about business, but has never run a business in their life.
Right.
So it's like, why am I going to listen to you and pay you thousands of dollars if you've never done this yourself?
Well, and that's the thing. As a parent that's paying for some college for my daughter's a few years older than you.
Yeah.
College is expensive because it can be.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're all just shelling it out.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy to send kids out of, they go to school and come out with $100,000-$200,000 in debt.
It's ridiculous.
You're leaving school with a mortgage and no job.
Yeah. And you can't get a business loan when you're 18, but you can get $200,000 worth of debt in college.
Yeah, exactly. Not saying school's a bad thing. Not at all. Because I think it's good and it gives you time to, looking back probably, and I almost did go in the service, probably would have been a better route for me. I could have used that few years of just growing up a little bit. So.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, here we are.
Yep.
2023, you're 22.
Yep.
Looking at, whether you dive into it's Ranger Pest Services, if anybody's wondering, in Raymond. Nope. No,
Cornish. We're based out of Cornish.
I was thinking you guys are up on 85 in Raymond, but so in Cornish, and your dad's Rick.
Yep.
Right. And
Yep.
your
Mom's Melissa.
Rick and Melissa.
Yep.
So and they're doing a great job. You got 600-800 customers or something crazy like that.
Yep.
So you guys are no joke. So there's a business opportunity there for you, but maybe it's a place where you kind of learn some of the basics about business, right? And they're kind of giving you the rope to do that.
Exactly.
But in the process, you're also kind of trying to figure out like what your passion is.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's been kind of a struggle just for me because I have a lot of passions.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, some of my passions is sports. I love soccer. I love baseball. I love watching sports. I'm a passionate guy about outdoors. I hunt. I fish. I love helping people. That's my biggest thing. That's what I've told everyone. I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to help people.
Yeah.
And pest control has been one of those things that the work itself really isn't, that satisfying to me. But I'm also, when I started talking to you about it, instead of looking at it in that standpoint, kind of reframe the way I look at it and think about, okay, you're learning a lot here.
Right.
And which I am. And it's not really the work that I'm falling in love with. It's the business part of it. Like, for instance, yesterday, just sitting down and talking about how we can compete against our competitors, but also be fair to our customers still.
Right.
And provide a quality product that allows us to take care of pest control issues.
Right.
So I'm trying my best right now to really take in the learning part of it and then using those skills that I learned to apply it to something else that I'm passionate about. And that's kind of why I came to you. I was like, this is where I'm at. I'm kind of lost. I'm not really happy with what I'm doing.
Yep.
And like, what can I do to improve my life? And what can I do to take steps to further my life? And
like we talked about it, on the downside, you're getting paid to do it.
Well, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of guys would really love to have that opportunity. So we got some perspective on that early,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Like, hey, dude, like this is a really good situation.
Yep.
And what 2 better champions do you have in your life than your own parents?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
all they want is the best for you. So
even and they've said, hey, if this is something you want to do, great. If it's not, then that's okay too. It's not like, hey, you need to own the, you're the heir apparent.
Well, exactly. And that's why I'm really grateful for my parents because a lot of parents aren't like that.
Yeah.
A lot of parents expect you to take over the family business and do all these things. My
Right.
parents really have the best interest in mind for me and what I want out of my life. And they're not forcing me to do anything, but they're giving me this opportunity. Hey, this is here for you if you want to take it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking at a fairly motivated guy here. You like to do stuff. When you first started rattling off all your goals, my first call with Macaleb, like, all right, write down your goals. What are the things? The thing was like this long. I'm like, dude, you got to trim. We got to trim that up just a little bit.
Yeah,
they're still
sure.
there. We're gonna work on them, but But how does that go? Like within your circle of friends? I mean, if you say that the prototypical 22-year-old guy is. We're not far from the old port here in Portland, and that's where they're spending Saturday night, and they're doing a whole bunch of different things and drinking and partying and just being 22, right?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
stereotype.
Yeah.
And you don't strike me as that kind.
No, and I never really have been. I've just kind of, the way I grew up was a little different than most. I mean, I've always told to work hard and work really hard in school, and that's just kind of what I've done. Never had time to be able to go do those types of things.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with going out and having fun with your friends and going out for a night. Like, that's great. And you should be able to enjoy your life and do those things. But at the same time, you need to take right now very seriously in order to pay yourself off in 20 years from now. Because you can't be out partying every single night or drinking or doing stupid stuff if you have goals.
Are there, and you may not want to share this, but do you have people that you've kind of moved away from?
Yeah, for sure.
When I say moved away, I mean don't spend as much time with because their beliefs aren't aligned with
Yeah,
yours?
for sure. I've never really had like a huge social group, but there are certain people in my life that are more focused right now on having fun, and which is fine. That's just not where I'm at in life. And I'm fortunate enough to have a couple of close friends and my girlfriend that have very similar goals and ideals and morals that they want to accomplish in their life. And my social group is small, but I'm fine with it because I'm surrounding myself with people that, do want to be able to have financial freedom by the time they're 40.
Yeah.
Do want to be able to be fit and want to help others and create a life that's full of abundance.
Yeah.
So it's really about surrounding yourself with people that have a like-minded mindset.
What are you doing on a personal improvement educational side? Are you doing podcasts, books? So like if there's somebody your age that's listening and watching to this, they're like, hey, I kind of like to jump on that train. What's that all about?
Yeah. So it all really started for me like watching TikToks. I've always had this like feeling I need to do something better. And on TikTok, it's like you need to read these books and all these videos come up on my For You page. So
TikTok's not all flossing.
it is, but it's what you're interested in that comes up on your For You page. And for me, it's like right now I'm reading The Greatness Mindset by Lewis Howes. That's one book. Atomic Habits, James Clear.
Yep.
Just books like that are more to educate yourself on how to improve like your habits or find your passions, things of that sort. So just doing some research on those books has helped me so far just because I can relate. I'm reading this book and it's telling me how you can find your passion. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Like, how do I do this? They ask you questions that you didn't think about before.
Right.
And not only that, but like just even hiring you as my mentor. I mean, that's a step I was terrified to do.
Right.
But I got out of my comfort zone. I was like, hey man, I mean, how much is this going to cost? Like whatever.
Go.
And even it does cost X amount of dollars, instead of complaining about it, I found a way to be able to afford it because I knew that your knowledge and expertise was going to help me in the long run.
Well, you're investing in yourself, right?
Exactly. It's an investment in yourself.
And I do that too on a different level, but whether it's paying for high ticket coaching, whether as a contractor or a coach, I spend a fair amount of money and I'm like, whew,
exactly.
But it always comes back. And I think that, however long we work together, I'm hopeful. And I know that you'll be able to point to this, and this, where you say, okay, I really feel like, that was worth it. And we should see growth. And I've told you when we started, if we don't, then fire me.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So like, I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you, morning routine. We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've got into like, I didn't get out of bed.
Yeah, I didn't get out of bed.
The snooze button,
Yeah,
right? Anybody that's watched any of my stuff knows how I feel about a snooze button. So you can imagine what it was like for Macaleb when he told me he hit the snooze button a couple times. So let's talk about that. What you were doing, maybe what you're doing now.
So back before I started working with you, my morning routine, there wasn't one. I mean, I would get up when I wanted to. I would go to bed when I wanted to, and I felt sluggish when I woke up in the morning. I'd sleep in, I'd be on my phone for 2 hours, and it just doesn't set the right tempo for your day.
Right.
And I've seen all these people like on my phone that are successful saying you need a morning routine. I'm like, all right, well, what's this all about? Like, what do I do?
Right.
So I asked you, and we kind of talked about it. You're like, well, first of all, you need to have a sleep schedule that's routine. You need to go to bed at this time and get up at this time. So my goal, which I'm not even there yet, my goal is to be up at 5 a.m. every morning, make your bed, drink your water, take my dog for a walk, do a quick workout, and get on with your work day.
I may or may not have sent him a picture at 5 a.m. from the gym one day.
That he did. He told me to get my butt out of bed. But, and like I said, I mean, I've been struggling getting out of bed on certain days, but it's more of the importance of just not giving up and staying consistent. That's the hard part. It's just keep doing it.
Well, we talked about making wholesale change, right? Like, hey, I want to change these 10 things overnight. It doesn't happen that way. Like, we're working toward 5 a.m., but let's get up at 5:30. And maybe let's go to bed 15 minutes earlier. So we know we're kind of playing with the house's money here. We're still getting the same amount of sleep.
For sure.
But we're just kind of shifting that a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like that's I think my biggest problems is that I have all these goals and I'm like, I need to tackle all of them. And you just can't do that.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. You can't change overnight.
Right.
If you read the book Atomic Habits, you're not going to change a habit overnight. It just doesn't work like that.
No. No, writing stuff down and tracking it,
Yep.
you know, and keeping, we did the push-up challenge there in the group, and you kind of led the charge in that, which was great to see.
I love that. That was awesome.
You were right in the middle of that. But in that process, you kind of find some things that work and some that don't. Like you kind of develop your own, daily routine. So in the morning, Ben Newman's group, they call it the prize fighter day. And we've watched those videos.
We've
Other
talked about
guys
that.
call it the champions day or mindset, whatever it is, but it's your thing. Like, some people they're up, they drink 16 ounces of water. They have their greens. Stan, who has been on this podcast. And then before you have a cup of coffee, then it's 10 pages of reading. Then it's your first workout. Boom, 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 done. Right now for me, it's up at 4:30. I'm a cup of coffee. I'm at the gym by 5. I know that no matter whatever happens in the course of the rest of the day, by 6:30, I've got that in. Nobody can take that away from me. Right?
Exactly.
And I've always found that, like, over the course of the day, like if I make it to noontime and my workout hasn't gotten done yet, I checked off, the probability that it's going to happen that day probably drops off by 50%.
Exactly.
So you're getting stuff done. You're feeling more directed. Okay.
Yeah, definitely getting more directed in my life. And I think the biggest thing that I talked to you about when I said we're doing this podcast is that, like, I want to let other people know that are my age, younger, older, whatever it is. I might be sitting here talking with you on a podcast, but like I'm still figuring all this crap out.
Right.
I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing.
I got news for you. It doesn't get any different when you're 53.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just one of those things that it's like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Like I started a TikTok a week ago. You told me to do it. I refused to do it because I was terrified of being judged. And that was like my biggest fear.
Right.
And
had to literally challenge you.
You literally,
when we get off this call, you're going to make that video. And it's not, you're not, I joke, but you're not dancing and doing that. It's, there's a plan here.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Like what you're up to.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I've been posting on TikTok for about a week now. And the whole goal behind it is to show people what they can do and prove themselves right, really, in life.
People in your age group.
In my age group,
my age and you're
my age group, younger, older, whatever it is, really. Yeah. I mean, everyone's struggling, everyone's going through something. But it's one of those things, it's like, if you're struggling with something, do something about it. Don't just sit there and complain about it and scroll on your phone, and that's how people cope. I mean, for me, I would scroll on TikTok for 2 hours to avoid my problems.
Yeah.
And
you can get in an awful TikTok hole, can't you?
Well, yeah, it's bad, dude. It's really bad.
Some of that stuff, I mean, those people are talented on there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're doing some crazy stuff.
But yeah, I mean, the whole goal behind it is for me to show people, like, even if you are struggling, even if you are having a hard time, still get your butt out of bed no matter how you're feeling. Standards over feelings, right?
Yep. Have you had people reach out to you since you started posting?
I've had a couple people, yeah. My best friend called me and he was like, "Hey, man, I just want to let you know that I'm really proud of you."
Wow.
And I was like,
Usually your friends will be like, "Dude, what are you, some sort of TV star now?"
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was nervous about. But like, my best friend, he called me. I was like, "I'm really proud of you." I was like, "Why?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "Well, I've been seeing your TikToks and you're trying to promote a healthy way of living and a good mindset. And it takes a lot of guts to throw yourself out there like that, even when you don't know what you're doing." And I was like, shit, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. I was expecting him to make fun of me.
Right.
But he was like, "Man, you're doing a good thing." And I was like, "Well, thanks."
That's when it starts to click. And that's really, especially for me, is what puts fuel on the fire. When I run into somebody and they go, and I didn't even know they like watched the podcast or read a blog or saw or anything. And they're like, "Man, I really like what you're doing." I'm like, what specifically? "I don't know, man. I just love your stuff." You know? And so I'm like, all right, we're going to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. I've only had 1 or 2 people that, throw shade at me on it. Yeah. But usually that's like on them. Yeah. It's their struggle. I'm like, oh, that's too bad. They're probably struggling with something, you know, wonder how I could help them, you know? But for me, it was when I just said, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to start putting myself out there. And I always tell the story about, people like you start to get out of your box and people want to pull you back in.
Exactly.
And that's what I would have expected you more to say that, like of your friend group, like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing that?" But it's really good that you're getting that positive feedback. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, if you can get positive feedback on TikTok or even, I think, what's the other one, Twitter or something like that, everybody's just hating on everybody. You know?
Yeah.
But since COVID, it seems like the world just needs more positivity, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that when COVID happened, people were isolated. I was isolated. I didn't see anyone. And coincidentally, that's like when I had that brain injury and all that stuff that was happening, and I just didn't feel like me anymore.
Right.
I mean, and I was lost. I was just trying to figure stuff out. And I was like, why don't we flip the script on it? It's like, why don't I decide to make a difference in people my age and be like, this is what you need to do. Like, go for a run. Like, if you're feeling crappy, move your body. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I told you, but I was feeling like really depressed last week at one point. Like, I didn't want to get out of bed.
Right.
But I was like, screw it. I'm going to go to the gym. I go to the gym. I start moving my body. And I was like, I'm feeling better. And like I told you, I was actually annoyed that I was feeling better, which is weird. I was like, that's why I went there. I want to
be miserable.
Yeah, I was like, I want to be miserable.
Trying to be ugly.
So I mean, that's just really what I'm trying to do here. And before you came here, I was talking with Mitchell, and I was like, the biggest thing I want to talk about today is motion versus action. So I think I've been on this journey of like, what do you call it? Personal development for the past 2 or 3 years, but I haven't taken any action until these last 2 months. Yeah, I would say with you. So what I mean by that is motion for me is reading, listening to podcasts, taking cold showers. Those are all really good things that are going to support you in your journey. Yeah. But there's no action behind that that's actually getting you to your goals. So I was talking to you all my goals. He's like, well, what have you done to reach your goals? I was like, well, I'm taking cold showers and I'm reading these books. And you're like, okay, great. But are you going to the gym? Right. Are you improving your nutrition? Are you making connections in your community to support your goals? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Are you making a budget for your financial goals? And I'm like, well, shit, I guess I haven't been, you know? So it's one of those things that motion is good to have. But once I realized that I needed action to actually pursue these goals, that's when I realized, that's when kind of when it clicked in my head. I was like, cool. In these last 2 months, I've already noticed a big improvement in my life.
Yeah, it's you can do you can read the books, you can watch and listen to the podcast, but if you don't implement, right? And again, it's that don't try to boil the ocean thing, right? You're not trying to do it all at once, right? Pick a couple of things. I just had a call on my way in here with my best friend, and he's talking about doing some different things or whatever. I'm like, I said, make a list. Put 3 things on it and go check them off. Like put the check box beside it. Because there's something cathartic about making that check mark, right?
Exactly, though.
I accomplished something, you know, and got it done. I work from that on my phone. It's just a to-do list or a checklist or whatever. Just little hacks during the day or even the night before, like what's my next day look like? I live by my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. Nobody's hijacking my day anymore.
And that's something that's been super beneficial for me too. I mean, when I start planning my day out the night before that day, my day goes so much smoother. Right. Because I know what I'm doing and those small actions in those days that are getting me closer to my goals. And if I cross it off, I did it, you just feel a lot better about yourself. Yeah. And you feel like you're actually doing something. Yeah. So,
So what did you call it? Motion versus action?
That's really big. I think I heard that on the Rob Dial Jr. podcast, Mindset Mentor. He's something I've listened to for about 2 years now. And every day I would listen to him, but I was never doing anything. Like I would just listen to a podcast, and that's great. But like you're not doing anything to get to your goals. And he said on one of his episodes, he was like, motion versus action. And I was like, well, shit, I've been in motion for like 2 years now.
Well, something that I've started doing that I would never like write in a book or highlight in a book. Like I always think, oh, I'm going to put it on the shelf and stare at it for a bunch of years after I read it or give it to someone else. But now I'm carving up my books with a highlighter and circling things, or I'll take a picture of it and put it in a note on my phone where I'm like, all right, that's good for a good idea for a talk or a podcast or a blog or something like that. So there's a lot of that stuff out there in the personal development space right now. And a lot of people are saying the same things and framing it a little bit differently. I think it has a lot to do with the delivery and how you can get it to land on someone, right? So like as you kind of build your community and your network of people that, that are listening to you, watching you, you'll develop your own way of delivering that message. You know what I mean? And you'll get feedback from people, and that's cool. So I think it's a great thing that you're doing, and I think it's going to help you develop too, because as you, they say, I've heard it say you can't have a message without a mess. You know what I mean? And I don't always agree with that, because if you don't have some big tragic event in your past, it doesn't mean it means you can't speak to people about, how to be better or how to be kind or how to, help one another and all that stuff. So
exactly.
I don't know. So here we are. Like, what's next for you? Like, you're finishing school at the end of the year?
End of
I
the
think?
year, yeah. So after this semester, I have 1 class this summer, 2 this fall, and I'll be done.
Okay.
Yep. So what's next for me? Really, I think my biggest goal by the end of this year is really figuring out what I want to do with my life, like what my passion is. And I have a lot of different passions, and we've spoke about that.
Yeah.
But finding that thing that's like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
You know? And it's going to take time to figure that out. I mean, I've taken...
Might change.
Yeah, and it might change, and it could change over the course of different years. Like, it's life. And
It seems, though, that the overarching theme is helping people. You know, so it seems like it's going to be under that umbrella somewhere.
Exactly.
Of course, that could be about just about anything, I guess.
Yeah, and it
But,
definitely could be. It could be anything, really. And I've spoken to my sister about it. I mean, I've thought about being an EMT. I want to be in the military at one point. I was like, can I be a cop? And I thought about all these things, and I've avoided them because in my head, I'm like, well, they're not financially stable. Because financial ability in my head is very important, just kind of like what I went through when I was younger.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, how can you do a job like that and then figure out how to have a background of more finance?
a lot of guys and girls, like if they're a police officer, a fireman, you know, first responder,
Yeah.
they work like 2 on, 2 whatever, 4 on or whatever. They're off for 4 or 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
You know, and then they have their own remodeling business, or they have, you know, they do their own thing. And that's when they make their investments, or they kind of have two lives. Now they don't make $1 million.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
their job, but
Yeah.
they got probably pretty good health care and you know, pretty stable job.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you don't get shot, you know, and that kind of thing. But yeah, that can be a way to go where you versus, you know, signing up, you know, you get your degree and then you sign up for the jing and you get your 11 paid holidays and, and you got to beat Cliff and the payables to the time clock to you know, schedule your 4th of July weekend off before he gets there.
Yeah.
And he's been there a year longer than you, so he's got seniority.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so.
And that's the thing too with like the corporate world. I mean, every successful person that I listen to and talk to, they own their own business.
Yeah.
They're able to live on their own terms.
Yep.
I mean, imagine living your life where you have to go to a job, clock in and clock out, and get paid by the hour. I mean, you're literally trading your time, which is the most valuable thing in the world because you're not on this earth very long.
Speaking of which, you just described 90% of the people that probably watch this.
Well,
but
exactly.
yeah,
I mean,
people do that, you know?
And there's nothing wrong with that because you need
it's called trading time for dollars, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, your generation in particular, like a lot of people think that it is Gen Z, right?
Yes.
Like Gen Z is that they're lazy. They don't want to work. They're all high and, you know, they're taking gummies and whatever, you know, but you guys have figured out like a smarter way to do things, right? You're into whether it's crypto or NFTs or whatever that stuff is.
Yeah.
I don't know. And working smarter, like making a living with a computer, whether it's affiliate marketing or anything like that. Like how can I do that? How can I make money without having to go ching ching? You know,
Exactly.
And, you know, I remember my daughter's not that much older than you, and she had her internship at Unum. She came home and said, "Dad, they sit there for like 8 hours in the same spot, you know, like, and she goes, I don't know about that, you know, and she's doing something much different where she can move around. She's doing marketing and going to photo shoots and social media stuff, doing a job that really didn't exist maybe even 5 years ago, but certainly not 10 years ago. So you guys have some opportunities, and I guess that's just the way it is in life. Like I've got different opportunities and doing stuff like this that my parents would probably, nobody even knew what a podcast was when I was in high school. You know? So
I mean, I didn't start listening to podcasts until a few years ago. And when I listened to the guys that I listened to, like the Mindset Mentor, he didn't start until like, I want to say like maybe mid 2000s, like maybe 2015.
Is that a good podcast if somebody's listening? Mindset
Mentor, Rob Dow Jr. That's a very good one.
Lewis
Howes, which is the School of Greatness.
Yep.
And then the Ed Mylett podcast show.
Ed Mylett, yep.
Those are the 3 that I really listen to, and they just have really good advice about everything in your life, whether that's financial, whether it's relationships, whether it's building confidence, whatever it is. I mean, there's something on there to help you out.
My friend just sent me the Mylett, the link to the Mylett one. I listen to it all the time, but it was, I think, yesterday's, and he said, you got to listen to this. You got to listen to this. It's all about, you know, it's all about sitting around and waiting to get laid off. And, you know, it talks about that, you know, corporate America or whatever. I haven't listened to it, so I can't really say, but that's what I'm guessing. But anyway, he was pretty energized by it. Yeah. You know, so, but back to your point. And I asked him, I said, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And he goes, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. You know?
Well, that's the thing too, is like, what are you going to do about it? You got to figure it out. I mean, you can listen, like man, I don't want to work in this job anymore. Well, how can you create a plan to get out of that job?
Yeah.
So it's like, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 or 5 years down the road, how can you figure out to build some type of passive income, whether that's on your computer, whether that's in real estate,
Yeah.
whatever it is, to figure out, okay, I'm done working this job. Now I have this other income that I can rely on and depend on. And then I can have this free time and go find my passion and figure out how to build a business within that.
What do you think about the trades for a young person? You
Trades
spend a
is
little
awesome.
time doing some plumbing.
Trades is awesome. I mean, I think anyone getting into the trades that's my age is going to be able to write their ticket when they're older. No one our age, my age, is getting into trades.
Yeah.
And
Plumbing, electrical,
HVAC, all of it, carpentry. I
Yep.
mean, it's one of those things that it's in high demand. No
Yeah.
one's doing it. The average plumber, I think, is 55 in the state of Maine,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yep.
And I plumbed January and February this year while business was slow. And I loved it. I mean, it was great.
Good time,
I was able to be around a crew that was really enjoyable and friendly. And I worked in this business that was fun. I mean, I got to see me starting from zero to being able to see me running water lines and heat lines and even doing a little bit of thermostats,
Yep.
things like that. It was satisfying. I'm like, why don't more people get into this?
Yeah.
I think some people our age are too focused on becoming a TikTok star or becoming the
Right.
next influencer, or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
And that's work. You know, I always say work's a 4-letter word for a reason. I mean, that's work, hands-on.
Well,
Like,
exactly.
what did you think about it? Is that a path you might pursue, you think?
possibly, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I think I told you that my goal for this year is just trying as many things out as possible.
Yeah.
And I loved plumbing. It was
Yeah.
great. I might go try out, maybe volunteer at the firefighting department.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just tries different things out and see what I like.
See what sticks, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things that plumbing is never going to go away. I mean, everyone's got a shit, right? So
This is true.
so
Your mother's going to watch this. Yeah.
she'll be all right. She swears worse than me. So
Stop,
Yeah.
Mitchell, cut that out.
yeah.
Oh, shit. What else? Anything else you want to share with everybody before we wrap up?
Yeah. I think one of my biggest things that I've learned is no matter how you're feeling, you always have a decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was telling you, like when you're down in the dumps and you're depressed or you're feeling anxious, no matter what you're feeling, don't let your emotion control what you decide to do.
Right.
Because you can always make that decision. No matter how you're feeling, you can go to the gym. I don't care what anyone says. If you're feeling like shit, you can still get up and go.
Yeah, you can take control, right?
So
I call it a positive action step.
exactly. That's what you
Right?
told me. That's what I
Yeah.
told you last week. I was like, I felt like shit. I didn't want to go to the gym. I didn't want to do anything, but I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Screw how I'm feeling. I
Yeah.
need to get up and make a difference. So
Yeah.
I think just separating how you're feeling with your decisions is important. But I mean, obviously, use your feelings to your advantage. Sometimes you can't ignore your feelings,
Right.
but just keep in mind that you're in control. So
Do you have, made me think, another question. Do you have, in your friend group, do you think that like what you're dealing with is pretty common?
yes,
Or, yeah.
100%. I mean, I think it's common across all age groups.
Yeah.
People not knowing what they're doing and just trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
I think it's especially common for people in the early 20s, just because you followed the system. You were in
Right.
high school, they promoted college, you went to college, got a degree that you're not going to use. I think it's 80% of college students don't actually use their
yeah.
degree. And now you're off in the real world, they say, and you're working at a restaurant or you're doing something and you're making not great money
Yeah.
and you're not even liking your job.
Right.
So then you're miserable.
Well, then you get some bills, you got a little debt, you got a
Yeah.
car payment and rent, and all of a sudden here we
Yeah.
go. Right now,
Exactly.
your flexibility and your options, start to get limited.
Yeah, exactly. And
You have kids, get married, whatever.
yeah, and life happens. That's the thing. Like you can have a kid, you can get married, and there's expenses to everything.
Yeah.
And I just think working hard and figuring it out is the best thing you can do as a person my age. I mean, for me, I'm working technically 2 to 3 jobs right now. I mean, when it snows, I shovel.
Yep.
I work full time for pest control, and I work 2 nights a week at a restaurant.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. I don't know too many 22-year-old kids doing that. So kudos to you and
thank
to
you.
your parents for
Yes.
Instilling some work ethic and some good quality character and integrity.
Thank you.
You and I have talked a lot, and it's been a breath of fresh air, honestly, to talk with a young guy that's working on his chops, so to speak, and wanting to do stuff and go.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, hang on, hang on. There's some things we got to get done here. We know what the master plan is. I think,
Yeah.
roughly, how we're going to create some steps to get there. And I
Exactly.
think with you, a lot of it is just walking before you run. And the
Yeah.
times that I've gotten in trouble in my life, trouble meaning made mistakes or whatever, it's been going too fast too early, whether it's with business or a relationship or whatever.
Exactly.
Just kind of, you have a really good ability to, what was I saying to you last night? To not
Self-awareness.
self-awareness and not
Yeah.
react. And like you have really high self-awareness for a young guy.
Thank you.
And you're not just bumbling around, you know,
Yeah.
and acting like a dub. You're very calculated in what you do. I can have a conversation with you. You're not, you know, reactive. You don't spout off. So all of those things are going to serve you well. I think if you're just patient,
Yeah.
kind of let stuff come to you, really explore that pest service thing. You never know. We could
Exactly,
talk in a
yeah.
year and you'd be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Rocking and rolling. We're taking this thing up over X amount of dollars and we got 4 more vans on the road and we're, you know, we're working on world domination.
Yeah.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
It's really a business is just a means to an end,
Yeah.
right? It's to create wealth, you know, prosperity or whatever, you know, lodging, transportation, food, right? If we got those things covered,
Yeah.
everything else is like, how do we want to move the pieces around? But we got to have that, right? So the sooner you can get that stuff covered, the sooner that you're able to say, okay, what else what do I have left for time in my week to commit to, you know, Macaleb Reinhard, DBA, world domination.
Yeah.
Da-ba-da-ba-da. So, yeah. So, no, it's been cool. I've really enjoyed, you know, getting to know you more. We met, Mitchell and I, and you met in BNI a couple of years ago. And I'd never been in BNI with a 20-year-old guy.
Yeah, I was 20,
you know,
yeah.
like, Jesus, this kid's all right.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
was due to my parents. I didn't want to do that, by the way.
Yeah, but it's helped you, like, right?
Yeah.
They made you do it probably, but
Yeah, it was-
public speaking,
Yeah, I mean, it
you
was
know, business.
It was scary. I mean, I was 20 and it was during COVID when I joined, and
Yeah.
it was on Zoom, so we
Yep.
were on Zoom doing that, and
Yeah.
it was scary just putting my screen on, talking on a computer, and then
Right.
we got in person, and me and Mitch kind of like clicked when we first got onto the BNI, and we were like, we gotta go in person. Like we were scared. Like I was like, oh crap, we gotta get up in front of people. So it's just one of those things I didn't even want to do, but I'm really glad my parents made me do it because it taught me how to get up in front of other professionals in Southern Maine and just talk about business and try to represent my company well for my parents. So
And you know, I always say you surround yourself with, and you're around people who own businesses and are kind of doing some things that you might want to do. So
exactly.
No, it's been great. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I appreciate
We'll
it.
do it again sometime. This will be something. So you and I have talked about like your TikTok thing. Like now you can say, hey, this was me talking about stuff on a podcast. This is kind of what I'm doing. We're getting a little more granular about what you're up to.
Exactly.
Might not have all the answers yet, but this is you putting yourself out there. So how do you get a hold of you?
Well, so if you want to follow me on TikTok, it's just Macaleb Reinhard. I don't dance on TikTok, so don't worry about that. It's Macaleb and then Reinhard, Reinhard. You can follow Ranger Pest Services on Facebook and Instagram, and that's how you get a hold of me.
You guys are the ones in the red vans, right?
Exactly.
And it's Macaleb, M-A.
Yes.
And then Caleb. So,
Yes, exactly. I always had to explain my name to people when I introduce myself. So
Thanks to you folks for that one.
yeah, exactly.
I think Mitch just called you Caleb earlier. But,
Yeah,
whatever.
which I'm fine with if
I
you
let
want
it
to call me
slide,
Caleb.
so.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks a lot. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
And good luck to you. You know, getting to my age and probably being a gazillionaire or something.
We'll see.
All right, man.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot.
Appreciate it.